Hi everyone, we're Robin and Angela, and our hashtag MyVerse21 comes from Proverbs 3, 5 through 6.
So this is our wedding verse, and we just celebrated our 10 years of marriage. And because we had many transitions and many paths during our 10 years of marriage, we were just encouraged to share with you so that it can also help you to feel that you're not alone if you don't know which path you're supposed to take. You're not alone if you feel like, is this path ever going to end? And in all of this, how do we trust God?
Yeah, so I noticed that all the pastors had some sort of prop when they presented their MyVerse, and I saw duct tape, I saw electric guitar, and I wanted to up the game here, so I brought my heart. That's what really matters. And
Heart
Angela,
on a platter? Oh no.
Angela, I want to give you my heart.
Even better, heart in a glass case. So thank you, Robin. This is actually his gift to me 10 years ago. One of the very few gifts he's given me, if you know Robin.
What?
But it has a very special note, and also our wedding verse, which is Proverbs 3, 5, 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight.
Yeah, he will make your path straight can also be translated to he will direct your paths. And over our 10 years of marriage, God has definitely directed our paths through 3 international moves and also navigating the current COVID situation.
Yeah, so I think God was really preparing me for this international move since I was young. So every 2 to 3 years, our family would have to pick up and move across Seoul to LA to Seoul, back and forth. And it was very disrupting, and it was hard to be that new girl all the time. But I think when I met Robin, and he was born and raised in LA, never left, I just felt like God was saying, oh, now is your time to grow roots. But I think he had a different path. So when Cameron was only a year and a half old, we embarked on our first international move, which was to Hong Kong.
And Hong Kong was tough for many reasons, picking up, moving to the other side of the world. And with a kid and also navigating a new environment and culture, I traveled a ton for work, and Angela was left home alone. Obviously that led to isolations, feelings of depression, and just having to really be away from family and friends that she loved. It was really challenging for her to navigate those times.
Yes, I think because we were also used to being part of such a tight community at church, when we moved to Hong Kong, that was the first thing that we looked for. But we lived on a different island than the main Hong Kong island, so for us to get to church, we had to take our golf cart. Yes, we had a golf cart, and that was our car basically, onto the ferry, onto a cab, onto, just walking through dizzying streets. And that's how we had to go to church and also to life group. It almost took us 2 hours to get to our destination.
And even attending life group was harder. We would have to take various modes of transportation early Saturday morning to get there by 9 a.m. But we really believed that taking those first steps of faith was going to lead to something great, and God was going to honor that and provide for us.
Right. So I think because our heart was there to serve and also to be connected to community, after about 6 months, God gave us the opportunity to actually host life group at our own place. And I think that time really just healed a lot of my heart. And also he provided sisters that we eventually formed a mother's prayer group. Towards the end of our stay in Hong Kong, Kara was born, and she will always be our Hong Kong souvenir. She's also a reminder about how God really, took care of us in Hong Kong.
Yeah, so we were supposed to move back to LA after about 2 years in Hong Kong, and God had different plans for us, so we ended up moving to Korea, which we were at for about 3 years. So another story around similar sort of experiences where we had to take that first step of faith to find a church community, to find a life group, and to really plug in. And through that journey, God provided in so many miraculous ways and kept us hopeful, just because we saw his handprint on everything that we were longing for and looking for in terms of guidance.
Yeah, so one of the funny things about how we found a church in Korea was that Rob was going through a devotional that we had picked up at a church in Hong Kong, and the editor-in-chief of that specific devotional ended up starting his own church in Korea. So that's how we actually found a church. So I think God, is always reminding us that he sees us. So in these very detailed and intricate ways, I hope that you are also feeling ways that God sees you during those dark and sometimes, unknown paths that you're on.
And God continued to give us more twists and turns. We were supposed to move back to LA after Korea, and then I got an assignment back in Hong Kong. And it was really tough for Angela to accept it. Obviously, she had some difficult times there. But you know what? She really stepped up in faith and really trusted God through going through this series of Joshua. And in the study, she really held on to the story around the priests having to carry the Ark of the Covenant across the river, and the rivers were raging. But the moment that they took that first step of faith, the rivers were calm and they were able to pass through. So she really held on to that, saying, God, if you really are leading us back to Hong Kong, where I really have that negative experience, God, I'm just going to trust you and walk in faith and be faithful to it. So that was something that she went into that situation with, and we ended up actually not going back to Hong Kong because I got another assignment and opportunity in LA. So here we go, and we moved back to LA after 5 years in Asia, and we're looking for a church again, and we're starting all over. And it took about 6 different churches to end up at South Bay, but we're here and it's our church, and then here comes COVID that we're now trying to navigate and transition through.
So, I mean, that was a lot of moves in a short 10 years. I think that every time, we were uncertain, we felt like we had to pray. Every, time that we prayed, I think God really honored those first steps of faith. So, I think being here in COVID has been challenging, I'm sure, for many of us, and it almost felt like I was back in Hong Kong because I felt just as isolated and, depressed. So I was like, I'm in LA, but I feel like I'm in Hong Kong. Like, did I take the wrong path again? And I say no, because God has shown us that, He will always be there with us on that path. And so, and if we weren't here in LA and be part of SBCC, we won't be able to share this with you as well. So we're thankful that we have the opportunity to do so. So how can we trust God with all of our heart?
Yeah, I just want to encourage the community to trust God by taking those steps of obedience, taking that first step of faith in whatever situation that you're facing. Encourage you to pray, join our worship services, plug into a life group or a Bible study, and see what God does. Because, He, as we acknowledge Him, He will direct our paths, and as we put our faith in Him, He will lead us, and He's faithful to that promise. So we really hope that you're blessed and staying healthy and staying close to the Lord and your loved ones. Thank you.
Hope to see you in person.